warm welcome to Red Ice Creations Radio. Thank you for tuning in to our broadcast. This is Henrik Palmgren coming to you from the west coast of Sweden up in Scandinavia. You can tune in to our radio show from all over the globe where internet is available anyway. Stop by our website redicecreations.com and check out all the good stuff that we have up there for you. Today we have filmmaker and author Jay Weidner back with us on the program. Jay was first with us back in June, I think, last year, and he's been keeping busy, that's for sure. He's going to be featured in a History Channel special in October about the Lost Book of Nostradamus. He also has two film projects upcoming, one called Time Wave 2013 and the other one is called Infinity, and I hope we can get to both of those and talk more about those. Jay's films are always exciting and fascinating and beautiful pieces of artwork, so I'm looking forward to talking more about those with Jay. I also want to mention his websites, of course, jweidner.com, but also take a look at sacredmysteries.com. That's for all the excellent DVDs that Jay is producing. Jay, it's a pleasure having you back on the program. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be here.
How are you, and how have you been since we last spoke? Keeping busy, I guess.
Yeah, the life has... somebody hit the accelerator about a year ago, and everything is... I don't know whether it's coming loose or gluing itself together, but either way... There's a great amount of congealment going on in my personal universe, and it either means that time really is coming to an end, because if someone's actually listening to me, it can only mean the end of time, or it means that the world has decided that it's in such bad shape that it needs to listen to me.
or we might have the speed up thing going on also, that more and more events and more how should I put it, possibilities maybe are coming to the surface, and what we want to manifest actually is becoming easier to manifest. Could that be one thing also?
I would say that's probably exactly what's going on. I think that as we get closer and closer to the final end of this age, we're going to see that the constrictions that have held the human race down are going to be lessened, and we're going to move forward into a whole different way of understanding who we really are. I think that the Nobel Prize being given to Doris Lessing for her Shikasta books is an indication of where we're going, because those are truly some of the most amazing science fiction books ever written, and they're all about the time that we're going through. So I don't think it's any coincidence that the Nobel Prize was awarded to Doris Lessing, who is really and truly a great writer. So I think it's just one more step in a long process.
Okay, never heard of her. Do you want to give us some titles for people who are interested in finding out more?
Yeah, if anybody's interested in reading, the books are called the Shikasta, the Canopus series, and Doris Lessing is a British writer. She's in her 80s now, and these books are extremely difficult to read. She's a very heady woman, and they're about alien angelic forces that are on Earth, kind of directing evolution and directing culture in a secretive and quiet way towards the culmination of history. And I wasn't even aware that anyone had even read the books besides myself. And so when I saw that she had won the prize for literature, I was completely stunned. And she won the prize for those books, which is incredible. 25 years ago, I wrote an essay for my university degree, and I wrote it on what I consider to be the two greatest works of the late 20th century, which I thought was 2001: A Space Odyssey by Stanley Kubrick, and the Canopus series by Doris Lessing. And here we are, the early years of the 21st century, and both of those works of art are finally getting the acclaim that they deserve.
Wow, yeah, that sounds very interesting. Need to check up on those. How about things, the fact that things are in a kind of fiction form? Do you think that will ever move away from that, or is that still a good way, so to speak, to disseminate, information and even, spiritual lessons and so forth? Is that a good format, so to speak?
I think it is a good format. I'm intending to go into fiction filmmaking in about a year. I have 3 projects that are in currently different stages of being funded. They're much more expensive than the nonfiction. But I think by the indications of ticket buying, more people are interested in nonfiction, at least in the United States. That may be because our media is now completely under the control of corporate forces, so people are yearning to find a different, point of view, so they're going to see documentaries, but also the documentaries are getting more and more gutsy, and the filmmakers are feel more and more compelled to move forward into areas that are not being explored or have not been explored previously. And, whether you agree with these films or not, it's very exciting to have them out. And, again, we haven't really gone into the spiritual aspects of these documentaries, have not really gone into the spiritual aspects of the human condition at this point in time. I'm trying to rectify that situation by going in there as fearlessly as I possibly can, and to show people that, there are political solutions, yes, but really what we're dealing with here is a spiritual problem. And until we solve the spiritual problem, we're not going to solve the political problem. The spiritual realm supersedes and surrounds the material world. And so you must rise up to transcend to a higher level and recognize the problem up there before you can solve the problem at the lower level. So if you have a lung disorder, you can go and you can take pills or prescription drugs that will cure temporarily whatever problem you may have with your lungs. But if you're smoking cigarettes, that's probably more likely to be the problem. So you need to rise up to a higher level of consciousness, realize what it is that's causing the problem, and solve it at that level. And that's where we seem to be going right now. We're beginning to realize that all of the things that are happening are impossible to have. It's impossible to have them solved at the base materialist level. And so we can protest and we can write our, politicians, and we can, yell and scream about how horrible everything is right now. But until we realize that, in fact, the real problem is that we are completely alienated from who we really are as a species, and then try to solve that problem, we're not going to solve anything. And that's really where I think the next few years lies as far as what's interesting, what's going to be compelling to everything that we're facing around the planet right now, from environmental problems to political problems and everything. We took a trip to Peru to film Time Wave 2013 and spent a lot of time with the shamans, the Caro shamans, up 18,000 feet up in the Andes Mountains, and they have a real handle on all of this, and their descriptions of the ways that we have to solve the problems that face us are eerily similar to the same things that are being pontificated by deep ecology, by sustainability, by a reduction in our living standards, not a reduction that causes us to be hurting materially, but a reduction in our living standards of the things that we really don't need in this world. And I think that's really where we're going. And the people who understand that are going to be the ones who not only survive but thrive over the next few years. And the ones that don't understand that are going to be paying a very, very, very heavy price for their ignorance.
Is this about, what you're saying here, is this about being smarter to some degree, meaning that, well, I guess our wasteful kind of attitude towards everything right now, that is what is depleting everything from our resources, even to our, spiritual aspects. Is this about being smarter in that sense, not being, cutting down on just the material stuff because that's bad for the environment, but this is about still maintaining a level of, technology in order to move forward still and evolve, but be smarter, basically?
Well, I think definitely we've got to be smarter about what we're doing, and I think that there's going to be a confluence of I don't know if it's an increase in intelligence, although I've seen arguments that say that, and they seem like fairly good arguments. But and this idea of sustainability and deep ecology, and yeah, I think technology has a place to, in this whole scenario. What that is, I don't know, unless we begin to make technologies that are less toxic to the environment. It's going to be somewhat problematic to go forward into the future with a highly technical world. But I think that technology is really a transition between the ages. It's a way for us to communicate across vast distances and to travel and to view films and internet sites that are talking about worlds and ideas that we don't know about. And then as we grow familiar with these concepts, we will become more familiar with each other. And as people who are involved in heavy relationships, whether it be with family or spouses or friends, they know that as the longer that you get to know someone, the more familiar you become with them, and eventually you almost begin to read their minds. You become almost telepathic. And in fact, lovers, often even complain that, their spouse knows what they're thinking before even they do. And I think that, so technology, especially the internet and the media that's around today, is facilitating a kind of telepathy that's going to eventually envelop the earth and all of us. And we can see this more precisely through the amount of synchronicities that are happening, in your own personal life. If there's a lot of synchronicities occurring in your life, if there's unbelievable coincidences that are happening, and these are getting more frequent, then you are probably one of these people who is beginning to move into this next realm or this next age, which will be an age of total synchronicity and coincidence. And that's really where we're going. I know in my own life, the synchronicities are piling up so high and so fast that it's beginning to feel like a Marx Brothers movie, and I can't even sort them out anymore. Just too many of them. They're happening so quickly that I just shrug my shoulders almost on a daily basis and say, why even bother thinking about it? Just accept it and go on.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Just it's about surfing that wave.